Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Good Cop 2.0, the podcast. I'm just figuring out the vibe of how to say the podcast. With me today is a newbie voice, which I think is absolutely amazing in this space. I think that bringing in and opening the doors and giving platforms to different perspectives, new perspectives, younger, older, it doesn't matter. And that is what is the most amazing part about this world. So in the studio with me, we have Reem Ibrahim. She is head of media for the Institute of Economic Affairs, and that's in London, right?
Yes, we're based in London.
If you can't tell by her accent.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am really excited to have you. And I think the first question is, what's attractive to you about this space? Like, where is that pull that you have? Because you can't just show up at a conference like this and be like, yeah, I'm here because work made me.
No, so I was a smoker from the age of 15 and I quit smoking using reduced harm nicotine products. So in the UK, of course, across different state schools, smoking is extremely prevalent, but it's significantly less prevalent now than it was, say, 20 or 30 years ago. So when I was younger, everybody smoked, everybody experimented with nicotine use. And whilst I was still a teenager, I was able to move away from those harmful products and actually move towards safer use. So I was using nicotine pouches, I was vaping, and I knew that it was much better for my health because I had done that research myself. And when I got into economic liberty and started studying all of these ideas around markets and choice, I was like, wow, this is really interesting because this is a fantastic example of the private sector of competition and choice providing a health benefit, right? As a consumer, as a smoker, I was then able to switch to a safer and healthier product and ensure that it was actually much better for myself, but also in the long run, it meant that I was able to save lots of money, I was able to spend a lot less on those particular products, and of course, ultimately, it'd be better for my health. So I became specifically interested in harm reduction in terms of the policy side when I started thinking about it in economic terms. The idea that as an individual consumer, I am making a choice. It's a substitute and, of course, a much better one for my health.
No, absolutely. And I know in the beginning days, I think before you even started smoking, I'm not doing ageism because I'm
23,
old.
so
Okay.
yes.
I started vaping in 2013. Vaping became prevalent in the UK, showed on the market in the UK in 2009 through blogs and stuff. I think one of the big things, because we're getting distracted by what the World Health Organization wants people to believe. So they're saying that this is big tobacco. But if we actually look at it, it was people in 2013 and 2010. I started vaping in 2010, opened my business in 2013. I closed it down last year, but I'm happy about that. It was people who found a solution and wanted to share it with the world. And when you think about that, what new technology has created such a big industry in such a short period of time?
No, you're absolutely right. And I think this is actually part of the reason why you get a lot of groups that oppose these new technologies. So I actually think, so I sort of discuss this as being a market choice, right? The idea that a lot of these tobacco companies themselves have now created products that are much healthier and safer for your body. And so I think a lot of the reason why the sort of healthcare activists, or at least these public health activists, tend to oppose these solutions is because it's a solution that came from industry. Despite the fact that it is very clearly a solution, that we know that, for example, vaping is more than 95% less harmful than smoking. We know all of these facts, and yet they consistently oppose these solutions because it came from industry. And by the way, this is not the only example of this. When you look at things like obesity, all of these public health campaigners say what we need to increase sugar taxes, and we need to ban advertisements for junk food, and we need to restrict and ban, and have the government be more involved. And yet we now have new technologies that mean that people are able to lose weight in a significant amount of ways, but also ensure that, again, it's better for their health. We've got things like the GLP-1 jabs, Ozempic, Mounjaro, you name it. And yet the public health activists oppose those jabs. Some of them even argue that they should be banned themselves, purely because it came from so-called industry. There are countless examples of this. Nuclear energy. Why is it all of the environmental campaigners are against nuclear energy, despite the fact it is literally one of the most amazing solutions to energy security? There are so many examples of this, and tobacco is just one of them. We know that tobacco is extremely harmful for our health. We also know that when adults are given the choice and they are able to make that choice, they often do choose healthier, safer products. And yet when you take away that choice, we know, of course, that we have a huge black market, that lots of people end up continuing to smoke. And yet the evidence doesn't matter. What matters to those people is that they are anti-industry.
Thank you. I hate that they're anti like that. Can you imagine just hating something so much?
Just purely because of who it came from.
Yeah. I mean, when we look at Canada and our hate for tobacco, I'm going to share this story with you and ask you what you think. There was a small pharmaceutical company that a tobacco company had a 10% interest in. They created a vaccine for COVID, very low cost, would be amazing for LMIC, that's low and mid-income countries. Medium income countries. Anyway, that's one of the new terms I learned this week. And it was made from a tobacco plant. It was low cost, so it would be easily adaptable and made from natural sources. So then again, avoiding that whole objection to mRNA technology. So like kind of checked off every box, like remove barriers. Our wonderful tobacco control folks fought tooth and nail and won to remove that vaccine and they celebrated. Can you imagine in a world that especially during COVID,
oppose a vaccine that's cheaper, more effective? I mean, it's absolutely astonishing, but I'm not surprised, to be honest. I mean, it's fascinating, really, because there are so many of these examples where effectively people become irrational. You know, their hatred of a particular industry becomes completely irrational, even when those very solutions are coming from that industry. And I actually think more so, I mean, as a libertarian, I really do believe that a lot of it comes down to purely anti-capitalist behavior. Mm-hmm. It's the idea that anything that comes from the private sector is bad and evil and greedy and for profit, and all of those things are bad. And anything that comes from the government is clearly good because it's well-intentioned, because it's in order to help public policy. So I think what's interesting is, despite the evidence being that actually the market process works in this space, like we have ample evidence of adults making safer and healthier choices for their bodies, literally doing things that will reduce healthcare costs, that will reduce their likeliness to get smoking-related illnesses. And yet, these very people, these tobacco control folk, they will oppose these solutions because it came from the very people they don't like.
Like literally, the tobacco company could feed all the children in the world, and they would say they're trying to hook your kids on smoking. Yeah. And when we see, like when you look at my country, Health Canada just went up and did their delegation, and our youth smoking rates are at 2%, which means only 100,000 kids. Like you could literally fit them in a stadium. Yeah. The amount of kids that smoke in Canada, you can fit into a stadium.
It's insane. And yet there's still, I think youth vaping tends to also be one of those problems where there is an enormous moral panic. So, I mean, just looking at the UK context, for example, the UK historically has been very good on vaping.
Oh, absolutely.
Tended to have been more supportive of harm reduction as a concept, the idea that adults make good choices for themselves, just in general, like autonomy, having agency, and ensuring that individual people can make those choices. And, you know, we had the NHS swap to save scheme, so people were able to actually switch to vaping. And that has all gone down the drain. And it's really unfortunate, actually, because the UK is one of those countries where a lot of us in this space had been using as an example. I mean, when I first started talking about tobacco harm reduction, it was the UK and Sweden are the two fantastic examples where Sweden have been able to get their smoking rate below 5%, so it's what we would call smoke-free, because adults are able to choose safer nicotine products, namely snus and nicotine pouches. And in the United Kingdom, millions of people, literally millions of people have quit smoking through vaping. And it was fantastic. We used it as an example, and now a lot of that is changing. So we've started implementing a vape tax, which has meant that
I'm going to send you. Are you in our chat on?
Yes, I am.
Look at what I sent about the vape tax in Canada.
I will.
Look at the prices that we got. It is more expensive to vape than smoke in my country.
Seriously?
Just look at the tax. Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
That's insane.
However,
it's more expensive to vape than it is to smoke in Canada.
Our vape tax is at about 200%, and our tobacco tax is at 167%. If you look at the invoices, those are invoices that small businesses, where they would be buying maybe like $800 worth of product. The total invoice, because of the two taxes that we have, would be over $4,000 or $5,000.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And that obviously gets passed on to consumers in higher prices.
But when we look at business, and we're talking business, the model that they're using in Canada, the person that takes the biggest risk and holds the most money is the shop owner, because the manufacturer pays for the labels, passes that on to the shop owner. Those sit on your shelf for X amount of weeks, days. And to get back that money, you have to keep selling that. So you're looking at a bottle of e-liquid that costs you $5, but your taxes are $20 or $14. So you're holding $20, and multiply that by 1,000, because you know how many flavors we have. It is absolutely insane, the tax scheme that it is. And the government always gets their money, and it doesn't matter if you sell your product or not. It's done.
That's absolutely insane. And also it just means that all of the onus is on the shop owners, which I don't think is fair at all. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, I think. That's a really interesting example where the complete misunderstanding of the way that the substitution in the market is working, right? Mm-hmm. If you are making it more expensive to vape than to smoke, often what will happen, of course, not everybody just looks at things in purely economic terms. If you just look at it purely in economic terms, then people will just stay with cigarettes. Like, why would you go and switch to vaping other than to care about your health? Because if you're going to be spending more money, I mean, that's absolutely insane. Or you would just go to the black market, wouldn't you? I mean, and that's what's happened in the UK. We have an enormous black market
Same with us.
Yeah, it's insane. It's so funny. I remember seeing former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak did this Instagram reel thing where he came into a shop and they threw all of these colourful disposable vapes on the floor. These all need to be banned, and it's almost kind of farcical. It's hilarious to see him joke about how insane the black market is in disposable vapes, and yet they banned it. They are the people that created the black market,
but they blame everybody else. We have the same thing in Canada. Zero accountability, and we're sitting here listening to people saying we need to hold everybody accountable, that I'm a shill for big tobacco. Shut up. Honestly, how about you listen to my words? How about you ask me why I believe this?
Yeah.
I'm not going to bother asking you where your money comes from, because I don't care. I don't care that Bloomberg is a billionaire who has the privilege. And imagine being that rich that you can make people. Imagine being that rich and you can impose your moral beliefs on the world. You're the world. Imagine having that much money. I would find a little bit how about feeding people? Or Elon Musk has $222 billion. Hey, Elon, hand us over all $1 billion. We'll figure out how to fix our lives. Sorry, I get a little bit sidetracked because it just frustrates me.
What's mind-blowing is, people don't realize the funding links between those particular industries and also the people that are doing it. I mean, you've got people like Bloomberg, as you mentioned, also people like Soros that fund a lot of the socialist campaigning. And it's really quite concerning, I think, because, we are always criticized for where we get our funding from. And if an organisation is government funded, nobody bats an eyelid. Whereas when an organisation is tobacco funded, everybody says, well, you're just a shill, and ignores you. So I think it's really important, actually, because the stigma around the tobacco industry as a whole, despite the fact that the industry itself is creating the very solutions that help people quit smoking.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally creating new and innovative products. I mean, I think, for example, heated tobacco is amazing. Something I've been into recently because it genuinely feels like a replacement for a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much healthier for you. People don't understand that, like, just because the solution came from people you don't like doesn't mean the solution doesn't exist. It's a solution.
Get
And
over
it's so
yourselves.
effective. Yes, they do need to just get over themselves. But you are right to point out the fact that a lot of the campaigning comes from organisations that are linked to these huge billionaires that, as you said, want to impose their moral worldview on the world. And I just think it's completely immoral and disgusting. I think that the government should not have the right to tell adults what they can and cannot do with their own bodies. I believe in that from a moral perspective, in terms of we should all have our own autonomy, we should all have our own agency. And look, I do believe that there are better ways to live your life. Don't smoke. You know, I would prefer people use safer nicotine products. But I do not think that the government should be required to tell those people what they can and cannot do. I think we should say, we can have education, we can say, let's have a conversation about what's healthier for you. But no, the government should not tell you what you can and cannot do, because you are an adult. You can make those choices. And so I was saying about the United Kingdom, where we've kind of gone off the ramp a little bit here, where we used to be very pro-tobacco harm reduction. And now a lot of these new policies have been in play. I mean, disposable vapes is one of them. My colleague, Dr. Chris Snowden, and I, we both wrote a paper on the disposable vapes ban before it came out. It's actually the only research paper I've written for the IEA, because I don't do research, but I was like, I'm really passionate about this. And it's fascinating when we're looking at the evidence around disposable vapes. So disposable vaping products are now banned in the United Kingdom. And the ban was initially propagated by the DEFRA, which is our environment department. Mm-hmm. So it came from the environmental policy, but then they were sort of pushing all of these healthcare policy outcomes and saying, you know what, we are actually going to stop youth vaping because the youths are attracted to disposable vapes. But then when you look at the evidence around how many young people are actually vaping, there are double the amount of 11 to 15-year-olds that drink alcohol regularly than vape regularly. And this is evidence that comes from ASH, by the way, from Action Smoking Health. So double the number of 11 to 15-year-olds drink alcohol regularly than vape regularly. But no one is saying we need to ban alcohol for everyone because some children manage to get their hands on it. So why are we applying that to vaping? Yes, some children manage to get their hands on disposable vapes, but does that mean we ban it for everyone?
Well, because that's the only way they understand. That's the only solution that they have. They are not creative thinkers. They're definitely not out-of-the-box thinkers. They have, they're sad. I think people that are not able to challenge themselves in their thinking, their ideology. And hey, you know what? If you think a ban is great, absolutely a ban is great. But I just feel like you need a hug. Because if you lack...
You have so much hatred.
Yeah, or you lack creativity, you lack critical thinking for yourself, I want to give you a hug, because that small part of your brain has been taken advantage of by these people. And, and I don't know who, I really think, I said this the other day, I feel like GATC, which is seems to be the governing body of the FCTC, in my opinion, is Scientology. They have people that follow the delegates. That's what Tom Cruise had when he was marrying Katie Holmes. We've read all the articles. She had a buddy. They all have a GATC buddy. They just need a hug, because there's something missing in there, or someone is taken away, or they have been manipulated, emotionally damaged. And I say that in a very way, where they've taken advantage of the way that these people can have the confidence to stand up for their argument against another person, choosing very lazy objections. Anyways, I think they just need a hug. Reem's a hugger. I'm a hugger. So
we are huggers. When I came into the room, I was like, let's hug. Let's have a hug.
I'm okay. I say that.
I don't want to greet people with a handshake. That's boring.
I know. I'm like,
cold.
hello.
Let's be friends.
You guys should read one day I will post all the emails that I write to the aunties in Canada. I write funny emails to them. I'm like, hi, I know I'm probably in your blocked. But that's another thing, is that if you're out there advocating, tell your story. Share your story. If you see something you don't agree with, get on your computer and send them an email.
Yes. Talk to people. I think basically the message I would send to the rest of the world, if I could just tell everybody to just do one thing, it would be talk more.
Yes.
Talk more, talk to people. And you know what? The fact that we have the internet means that is so much easier. I can talk to somebody millions of miles away right now, instantly, and get a message back instantly. How wonderful is that?
I'm like talking to Joel from Africa, who called me a merchant of addictions. And I want him to come on the show and come on this podcast. His argument is, I don't know as much as the who as that. And I said, that's the difference between me and you. I empower people to have critical thinking. You have been told you don't deserve it.
You deserve your voice, and no matter who you are. And, this is somebody that you disagree with, by the way, right? This is somebody on the other side.
Absolutely.
And yet you're like, hold on, I think that your voice does matter. And if you're going to have an opinion about something, have your opinion, talk about it. I actually think, just like more broadly, the idea that the government has to control your behavior is like those people that believe that the government needs to have more power over your lives, those people need a hug, because they are people that do not trust themselves so much so that they want the government to control more of what they do. And I think that this is why I'm a libertarian. I mean, I believe that the government should be basically as small as possible, because I believe in people. I believe in humanity. I believe people should have the agency and freedom to live their lives and absolutely flourish in the best way possible for them. I don't believe that some government bureaucrat knows better.
And that's a great place to end this podcast, because we can't really top that. Go out there, have those conversations, hug. Hug more.
Hug more.
Vapors hug. We should make some stickers. Thank you so much, Reem, for joining me. And thank you for everyone for listening. Good Cop 2.0, the podcast. And make it a great day for yourself.